Hi everyone, my name is Matt and welcome to my channel. We've gotten a few requests for some basing guides, so let's make some of these ash waste bases with crackling paint and a few simple materials. I think it's easier to make the bases first and glue the model on afterwards, but you could just as easily do the bases at any stage of the painting process. Textured paint is more likely to peel off the base if it isn't primed first, so just to be safe, I like to prime my bases. You could use any kind of primer you want, the color won't matter at this stage. I used an old brush to apply some Agrax earth texture paint to the base. This stuff makes a cracked pattern when it dries, and the size of the cracks will vary depending on the thickness of the paint. Thicker paint will make larger cracks, and thinner paint will make smaller cracks. Smear the paint around and tap the brush to make an uneven surface. There are some rubber tools on the market for using with texture paint, but I think an old brush makes the most natural looking surface. After painting the bases, leave them to dry for at least a couple hours, but overnight is best. I'd like to add some more texture to the bases, so I painted a couple patches of white glue. You can add as much or as little as you like, but keep in mind to leave enough flat space for the model to go. I like to put the glue on any areas where the cracking pattern doesn't look very interesting. That way I'm preserving the best looking spots. Then I added a few pieces of coarse gravel and a pinch of fine sand. I like to use a knife or a toothpick to break apart the edge of the sand patch. I think it makes a more natural look. I let the bases dry for about an hour, and then I painted over the sand with some white glue thinned with water. I like to use a tapping kind of motion to help work the glue into all the cracks. This extra glue will help seal in the sand and keep it from chipping off. Now is a great time for me to ask you to do those YouTube things that we all love so much. If you're liking the video so far, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future content. If you really like what I'm doing here and want to support the channel further, consider being a channel member. We have some perks including a Discord server and early access to videos. I like to use cheap craft paint on bases wherever I can, and I mixed up a couple grays from black and white. Check out my custom grayscale video here to see how you can mix your own set of gray paint. Once the glue dried on the sand, I painted over the bases with gray number 3 from my custom grayscale. If you don't feel like mixing anything, Mechanicus standard gray is a close match. Then I shaded the bases with Agrax Earthshade. Next I dry brushed the bases with gray number 4, and if you don't feel like mixing anything, Dawnstone is a close match. I like using old craft brushes for dry brushing. There are tons of specialty brushes on the market, and feel free to use one of those if you like. This craft paint is pretty close to Bonewhite, and I mixed some of that with the gray and dry brushed one more layer. This time I wiped off almost all the paint, and I concentrated most of the highlights around the rock clumps. I'd like to add some color to the bases, so I thinned down Mournfang Brown with about 4 or 5 parts water, and with very little paint on the brush I used a scrubbing and stippling kind of motion. The paint will look brighter while it's wet, and it will darken as it dries. I'd like to keep this layer subtle, but you could add as much or as little as you like. Then I painted the base edges with black. I added some patches of dead static grass with superglue. I like to add these around the rock clumps and on any areas that look uninteresting. I like to use a very small amount of glue and then sprinkle the static grass on top. Gently blow some air on the base and it'll make the grass stand up. I'd like to give a big shout out to our channel members. Thank you so much for your support. It really is a huge help. If you want to be like these amazing people and help support what I'm doing here, just click the join button down below. Thank you. I really like the cracked texture and organic patterns. It's simple and effective, and I think it would be pretty easy to knock out a whole army worth of bases in a day. Would you like to see more basing guides on the channel? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy painting.